write a very good teaching philosophy statement. And I'm going to try and share my views on how to do that. Okay, so this is the second part, as I said earlier, and as I said, the focus is going to be on providing additional guidance on writing teaching philosophy statements. The session today is going to cover these following three topics. We look at the structure of the teaching philosophy statement, and we will talk about, or we learn about, the role reflective thinking can play in writing of this teaching philosophy statement. And then we would also, if we have time, explore some writing tips. So, and this is something that you've already been told, and so I'm just going to. This is repetition is always good in learning. You know, it sort of re-emphasizes the most important points. So the teaching philosophy is a narrative, right? It's a story that you tell about your understanding of teaching and learning. It's a description of how you teach. It's a justification for why you teach that way. So this rationalization or this justification is important. And also, the TPS can show that you have been reflective, that you have reflected on your practice, you have been reflective, and you have been purposeful about your teaching, that you're not doing things just for the sake of doing them, that there has been some thought behind what you are doing, that you have thought about that this is the best way to do it. And then you've also reflected on what you have achieved and what your pedagogy has been. So you need to communicate your goals as an instructor and why you conduct classes in a given way. Now, we saw some wonderful, absolutely brilliant teaching philosophy statements in the last two cohorts. So we hope that you will also rise to the occasion and rise to the high standards that have been set by your senior colleagues. So what is the purpose of the teaching philosophy statement? Some universities ask you to write one before they ask you to apply for an academic position. So it is a teaching statement which conveys your teaching values, beliefs, and goals to a broader audience. It provides a set criteria or standards to judge the quality of your teaching, and these are standards and criteria that you're establishing yourself. It's not that some outside authority is telling you that this is how it should be. I mean, of course, the theory of education and the theory about teaching and learning is where you are deriving these standards and deriving these criteria from. But these are criteria that you are selecting for yourself in your teaching philosophy statements. And it also provides evidence of your teaching effectiveness. Now, the evidence can be in the form of module evaluations, it can be in the form of your own achievements and how you felt the grades that your class got, maybe eventually in an assessment-focused system, or the achievements of your students can be seen as your effectiveness. Like, for example, when I was at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, 3 or 4 of my students went on to become Rhodes Scholars at the University of Oxford. And of course, it was their own hard work, but I also felt, because I was responsible for the debating society at LUMS, and it was a new society that was founded, and that gave them a forum to practice their speaking abilities. So and they, of course, they acknowledged the contribution of the debating society in their in making their applications successful. So so those can be your achievements. Those can be your students' effectiveness is your best evidence. So now this was what was told in your writing task, that you were told in your writing task that the teaching philosophy statement serves the following purposes: that it is personal reflection. It is metacognition, it is thinking about thinking, it is self-improvement, it is thinking about your teaching, it is being reflective about your teaching, it is professional identity, who you see yourself as. It's like a bio sketch, and this is something that you can share professionally. You can this can be sent for award applications, the best teacher award or the best researcher award, or and many organizations actually award teachers these various awards, and acknowledge teachers' good teaching through these awards. And of course, it can be part of your teaching portfolio. It could be used as a dossier for hiring, for tenure, for promotion process. And then, of course, it's also part of it gives the students your pedagogical identity. How do you see yourself as a teacher? How do you like to teach? What do you expect your students to do? How you expect your students to behave? And then, of course, it's a public identity as well, because it is the way you present yourself on your website. And then, of course, it helps graduate students understand your research areas. And of course, you can also share with your graduate students to help them develop their teaching philosophy statements. So what all goes into a TPS? What is the structure of the TPS? So educational aims and learning goals. Now, remember, I know that you have all, you will be submitting your second draft today of the second two paragraphs of your TPS, and then later on you will get an opportunity to polish the whole teaching philosophy statement, and after a couple more modules you'll get an opportunity to then finally submit the final product. So you have plenty of opportunity actually to improve what you have written. So what goes into a TPS? Your educational aims and learning goals, the teaching methods that you have used, the way you have assessed students' learning, the evaluation of your teaching, the evaluation results, the scores that students have given you, or your own personal evaluation of your teaching. And taught courses, samples, so you may have taught a particular course on genetics or plant pathology or something that went down very well with your students, or that was unique. Like Dr. Shazia gave this example of the periodic table taught in a unique way with idioms, or so something interesting like that. So if you have such examples, you can actually include it in your TPS. And then also samples of courses that you may have designed. All this will go into your TPS. So and behind all this, underlying all this is your philosophy. What is the end goal of all education? This is about your values, this is about your beliefs, this is about your goals. So you need to also show complete command of the subject knowledge. I mean, you have complete command because you have a PhD in your subject area. So and it also has to convey to the reader your humanity, or your sense of social responsibility. It also has to convey your achievements, the fact that you are able to think critically, the fact that you are a known problem solver, or you look for solution to problems, and the role teachers or teaching and learning can play in discovery of knowledge and knowledge generation, and how good a team player you are. How do you direct your own learning, and what are your beliefs about experiential learning? So a lot of teachers actually talk about project work and how they believe in teaching students through projects, through experiential learning. So all that, any of these or all of these could be part of your teaching philosophy statement, could be part of your philosophy as what you consider to be the end goal of all education. So where can you locate material for a teaching philosophy statement. It could be in a discussion of a uniqueness of a syllabus. Like again, I will give Dr. Shazia's example of doing the periodic table through idioms, or something very unique or interesting like that, or learning environment and your classroom management. So if somebody is interested in project-based learning or problem-based learning, those are two unique ways of creating a learning environment and managing a group of students. So if you believe in that, you could give an example of that. And then it could also be your teaching philosophy's connection to the higher education institution's mission. So whichever higher education institution you're appointed in, or you want to, you're desirous of joining, you could connect to that institution's mission. And or it could also be the trends in your field, or the trends in your particular discipline, or for that matter, HEC's mission. Okay, so the teaching philosophy can connect to all that. And then the criteria that is used to measure your teaching can be seen in the following. It can be seen in the student teaching roles and responsibility, the student-teacher interaction, the interaction you have with your students, how inclusive you are in your teaching methods, your teaching approaches, and the inclusivity that you're able to engender in your classroom, the teaching methods that you employ, and the way you assess teaching, how inclusive is assessment, how inclusive is learning, and then assessment of learning, assessment of teaching. These would be the tools or the means through which you will assess or evaluate your own teaching. So how do you demonstrate good teaching? You can provide evidence by mentioning the following in your TPS. You can mention student evaluations, you can mention peer reviews, module ratings, course syllabi. I don't know whether in Pakistani institutions, students have forums or discussion forums where they talk about the courses that they have taken, and they actually do some kind of informal module ratings, or even sometimes instructor ratings, and of course there is an instructor rating that is going on, or module rating that is going on through by word of mouth also, but of course you can't include that in your TPS. But the popularity of your course, of course, can be, and the ratings that students give your course on the course evaluations, that of course can be included in your TPS. And other teaching activities. Okay, so that was about what goes into a teaching philosophy statement. We are going to we digress slightly and move into writing style. And here I'm going to test you a little. Okay, so, and what am I going to test you about? And this is again, as has become our norm, we don't ask the entire cohort to answer questions or give comments all at once. We divide them into sections. So in your sections, try to define the following styles. So what is section 1? Your task is to define descriptive writing. I want to see what is your understanding of the different kinds of writing that can feature in your teaching philosophy statement. A lot of the time students write quite descriptively, and it's not a bad thing to write descriptively, except in a teaching philosophy statement it can have its place, in one of the paragraphs, but in the other paragraphs you need to move on. So I'm going to look at chat and see what answers you are giving. Section 1 only. So we have Atya from Qaid-e-Azam University saying paying close attention to details. Shagufta saying details of events. Engineer Tahir is saying should be precise but elaborate. Mati physics is saying to move in a proper way, seeking to describe. That's right. It is telling the facts plainly. Okay? Describing the person, detailed and elaborated. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Good encouragement from your instructor. Well done. Should be to the point. All academic writing should be to the point, not just descriptive writing. That's a good point to make, though, Shahid Kamar. Personalized, Iram. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to give you the answers right away, and I'm going to ask section 2 to describe what they think is discursive writing. Section 2, Dr. Buryan's section. Your turn. Very good, Rashid. Discuss key insights. Write up to create an image. Come on, make Dr. Buryan proud. Section 2. Elaborating in a meaningful way. Yeah. Exploring ideas. Very good, Shabazz. Very good. You must examine the arguments. Excellent. Controversies. Controversial. Yes, okay, controversial. Discursive means that you give both sides of the argument or both sides of that is what discursive would be, yeah. Provoking thought, modes of discourse, well done. Argument based by evidence, excellent. Discuss the idea in details. Okay, all right. Look at the controversies, provoking thoughts. Well done. Those were excellent answers. On to section 3. Factual writing. What do we understand by factual writing? Discursive writing is persuasive writing. Yes, that's right. Impersonal style. Are we from section 3, Faisal? Come on, section 3. Fact-based writing. Good, Hina? Very good. The writing based on facts and figures, providing very good based on facts and figures. Very good. Those are good answers. Yes, so the name was a dead giveaway, wasn't it? Facts and figures to give knowledge. Writing on the basis of facts. All right, okay. So section 4. Moving on to section 4, my section. Analytical writing. Come on, section 4. Dr. Shazia and Dr. Suleiman. Whip up some enthusiasm in section 4. Well done, section 3. Yes. Critical thinking. Good, Rafiq. Analytical is with actual facts. Okay, Shaila. Yeah, being analytical and critical with actual facts. Measures, tests. Analyze something. Test your critical thinking. Construct and evaluate arguments. Good. Significant points. Support complex ideas. Writing with logical reason. Well done. Yes, critical approach of describing to analyze teaching materials, ability to articulate ideas, ability to articulate and support complex ideas. Well done. Construct and evaluate arguments. Well done. Critical thinking. All right. Complex ideas, facts and figures. Okay. So explanatory writing. All of you. This is a free for all. What is explanatory writing? Yes, what is the difference between discursive and analytic? You will find out soon. Explanatory and chronology, narrative, detailed, explanation full of explanation. Detailed, okay, Ram, you write clearly, showing details. Sultan Adil to write conceptual, write in detail. Well done, everyone. Okay, informative, very good. Zahid, that's excellent. Well done. All right. Explanation of, okay. What kind is reflective writing? I'm on to the next question. What is reflective writing? People move on to the next question. This is for everyone again. What is reflective writing? Yeah. What is reflective writing? To show up yourself, Madiha is saying. Self-reflection, Shujat, excellent. Analytical practice on yourself, well done. Showing one's ideas, explaining of one's ideas. Personal reflection, Hira, that's good. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's a. I think you all have a good idea, but if some of you don't, we can always look at the next slide, which will give the reflecting ideas to reflect on student ideas. Okay. Now I don't think. I think you will find out what reflective writing is. So these are the writing. So this is the answer key to the questions. So descriptive writing gives a detailed logical account of the characteristics of things. So in this case, the things would be your teaching. Discursive writing investigates things by reasoning or giving explanations. Factual writing states the facts. So most of section 3 was very right. Analytical writing examines complex things to discover how they work. Okay, so breaking things apart, taking things apart and then putting them together and explaining how they work in relation to each other, that would be analytical writing. And explanatory writing is making things clear and giving the reasons for them. Okay, so these are the different kinds of writing, and they're not as simple as perhaps you thought them to be, right? And then we have a whole section on what is reflective writing. So look at the sections of, or look at the various paragraphs that you have to write for the teaching philosophy statement, and think about what kind of writing would you use in the different paragraphs. Now, of this category of writing, descriptive writing is the lowest order writing. I mean, in the sciences, of course, you have to describe materials and you have to describe events, but description, as opposed to analytical and discursive writing, is less challenging. Okay, so I think your aim should be to actually write analytically and discursively and explaining and giving reasons. Okay, so these would be the kind of the three kinds of writing that you should really be indulging in, and less description. All right. Okay. Reflective thinking, why should we do it? So what is the relationship between teacher reflection and teacher development? It's an extremely important relationship. Teachers learn by reflecting on their practice. It's extremely important that teachers reflect and they develop a deeper understanding. They become proactive and confident in their teaching. They, so whatever they have done well, that gets reinforced when they reflect on it, and whatever they have not done so well, they think of ways of improving, and you can only improve when you reflect on things. So and of course they're creating learning opportunities for their students. So there's no right approach in teaching, so you need to reflect upon different ways of teaching and learning, and you will experience those different ways in this course, in this NFDP course as well, where your instructors would be using different ways of teaching, and you will be exploring different ways of learning through your assignments. So who is the reflective practitioner? The reflective practitioner questions their practice. So as a teacher, you have to ask yourself, have I supported my students to learn? Have I provided my students with motivation for learning? Where do I need to enhance my teaching so that it improves students' learning? Am I learning from my mistakes? So all this is these are very, very important questions, and you have to keep answering. You have to keep asking yourself these questions in the various stages of your professional development. So there are various. Now we are going to look at the various models of frameworks for reflective writing. So one of the first models or framework was given by Sean in 1983. And here he talks about reflection before, during, and after the event. So reflection before the class, during the class, and after the class that you are teaching. So before an event, you might think, okay, what is going to happen? What might be the challenges? So you're prepared, mentally prepared for those challenges. Then you need to ask yourself, what do I need to know in order to be best prepared for this? Then during an event, you need to learn to think on your feet, as they say. So you have to make some rapid decisions. So you have to ask yourself, is it working out as I expected? Am I dealing with these challenges well? Is there anything I should do, say, or think to make the experience successful? What am I learning from this? So in my current situation, what I'm doing right now, what am I learning from the way I am teaching during this event of my teaching, Saima's teaching? I am learning that I'm going too fast. I need to slow down, but I also know that I have too many slides to cover. So next time I should make fewer slides. This is something that I learn every time and overlook every time in my desire to give information. But that's a flaw in my own teaching style. That because I become a transmitter. The teaching perspectives inventory, rather than becoming an apprentice. No, I become a transmitter of knowledge. So, or I just become an information giver, and that is not what is desired. So this is my own reflection during the event, my own teaching. So after the event, what would be my insights? What are your insights immediately after? In retrospect, how did it go? What did I particularly value and why? Is there anything? Now, I could say I valued, and I'm being facetious here, the pace and the energy that my class had or that my teaching had. But remember, when I say this, I'm focusing on myself. I'm not focusing on you, my students. My students are very quiet at the moment. Are they quiet because they're absorbing? Are they quiet because they're listening to me? Are they quiet because I'm making sense to them? Or are they bored? Why are they quiet? So these are some things of why were they quiet. So this is something that I need to ask myself. So what have I learned? Okay, so these are all right. Another example that I'm going to give you is of this study that is called 7-Up. It's a landmark study in sociology and political science. It's a combination of various. It's an interdisciplinary study, you can say, and it is called 7-Up because there were 14 children at the age of 7 who were selected in 1964, and every 7 years the researchers went back to those students and mapping their life. Okay, and thank you Qaid Iqbal, for your reassurance, much needed. So so this is about their story. So and the person who thought of this was called Michael Apted, and he started this documentary series, and it's on film. And it's an amazing series in the history of cinema. And 55 years later, the project is reaching its conclusion. Yes, and this little girl here. Can you see my arrow? She actually works at my university, and I interact with her quite a lot. She's now, close to 60 years of age. Yeah, and her name is Sue Sullivan. She's been part of this study, and you talk about, and this is the story of these three friends. So they were primary school children, and So this would be, if we apply Sean's model, this would be reflection before, during, and after. So this would be somebody reflecting about watching the television documentary called Seven Up. So I'm just going to give you a minute to read these three sections: before the event, during the event, after the event, about the documentary Seven Up. And this will give you an idea of what reflection is. So what do you find unique about the third column, after the event? Now, what the student who's writing this reflection has done, has put in citations here. They have put in citations, they have linked what they have watched to the theory that they have read on sociological frameworks. Yes, people are changing. Yes, of course. So, and how films present class, and whether this too about stereotypes, and we have a tendency to do that a lot, and it's not always desired and shouldn't be done, but we do, for convenience sake in our minds. It's a poor habit. It's a poor thinking habit to stereotype, but we do it all the time. Well done, Abdul Wahid. Yes. So this is an example of reflective writing. All right. So another example or another framework for reflective writing is Kolb's 1984 experiential learning cycle. And he believes that the learning process is seen by many writers as cyclical. Each time learning takes place, it leads to the next phase of learning, and the cycle starts again. And he shows how reflection leads the individual to form concepts about their experience and to be able to generalize from one experience to another. Just like we create stereotypes, we also create generalizations from our experiences. And these generalizations are actually crucial in forming our ideas about ourselves, about our learning and how we learn. So, and from these generalizations from one experience to another, we move on to actively planning how to change what you do next time, and the cycle starts all over again. And Kolb identified types of preferred learning styles. So Kolb says, gives you this experiential learning cycle where you have concrete experience. Now, if you were to do micro teaching, or practice teaching in a school or in a university setting, that would become the concrete experience. Think of the micro teaching experience as the concrete experience. What would be the observations and reflections? That the observation could be that the students seemed bored and they were disruptive, and then the formation of abstract concepts and generalization would be that think and read about teacher-learner power relationships. Maybe the teacher needed to be firmer in his handling of the young students if it's in a school. And then testing implications of concepts in new situations would be try out a lesson where teacher gives students responsibility. It could be responsibility of managing classroom disruption, or making monitors of students, or something similar, or giving them some leadership roles. All right. So another person, Gibbs, in 1988, came up with another model for reflective writing, and he called this the structured deep debriefing model, where he acknowledges the role that feelings and emotions play in learning. And again, like Kolb, he also emphasizes the importance of being able to generalize and transfer knowledge and insight from one situation to another. And this is often used in developing practitioners in education, which is what we are doing. So, so you start with the description of what happened, feelings, what were you thinking and feeling, what was good, then the analysis, what could you have done differently, and then the action plan at what you do, and then you describe it again. So this is the cycle that goes on like this. Okay. So other things that you need to focus on are questions about learning. How is your thinking about teaching and learning changing as you learn your subject? Okay. And this is a crucial question. Really does change. The more command you get over teaching and the more command you get over your subject knowledge, your teaching starts becoming different. And what is the definition of learning your subject? What is successful learning experience for your students, for yourself? What changes the way you think? Other people, things you have read, things you have experienced, something else, something learned on your doctoral program. All this might have an influence. And then think about questions about your teaching. What are your goals as a teacher? What are your beliefs about teaching? How would you categorize your role in the classroom? Are you a coach? Are you a facilitator? Are you an entertainer? Are you a source of knowledge? And or are you somebody who just asks questions like me? So what changes the way you think? Other people, things you have read, again the same ideas. All right, so now we are making another shift. So we have covered quite a lot of ground. We have looked at reflective writing. We have looked at what goes into a TPS, where to find material for your TPS. And now we are moving on to paragraphing. So one of the things that we noticed, and it's not just you, it's not just our students in Pakistan, it is students all across the world, and especially English as a foreign language or English as a second language students, that they don't structure their paragraphs very well. That they forget that a paragraph means one very important characteristic of a paragraph is that it is about one idea. It has to have one main idea. Unity, that's called unity. Now, unity is something that you need to understand. Unity, like we believe in one God, right? So unity, a paragraph has one main idea. They can be other supporting ideas to support that main idea, but the paragraph is about that one main idea. And the other characteristic is that it has coherence through coherence through logical order. Things that are required to come first and then come second and then come third, and so there has to be some kind of a logical order. So the logical order is determined by the kind of paragraphs you are writing. So it can be a cause and effect paragraph. So if you have to write a cause and effect paragraph, then you put the cause first and then the effect. That would be the logical order. If it is a compare and contrast paragraph, then there are certain kinds of logical orders, like you can do all the comparisons first and all the similarities first and all the differences, or you can take one point and give the similarity and difference and then take the second point and give the similarity and difference, or you can do it like that. Then problem solution, you give the problem first and then the solution. And process narration, of course, would be like you're teaching somebody how to bake a cake. So first you do this, then you do this, so that would be a process narration. And then if it is a description, there also you follow a certain pattern, certain logical order. Now, what decides what that one main idea is going to be? And that one main idea generally is placed in what is called the topic sentence of a paragraph. Now, the topic sentence of the paragraph is generally in academic writing, it is the first sentence of each paragraph. That is why in reading strategies, we tell our students, just read the first paragraph of the first sentence of each paragraph when you are skim reading, because that first sentence is the topic sentence, and that will tell you what the rest of the paragraph is going to be about. So that is what so a topic sentence tells the reader what the paragraph is going to be about. It is about that one main topic. So now we are going to look at how many parts does a topic sentence have, and what is the function of each of these parts. Now I have a paragraph here. I'm sorry, it's not very, I've tried to fit it in, but if you could read this paragraph and tell me which is the topic sentence and what parts does the topic sentence have. I can give you a hint. A topic sentence has two parts. The topic, the part that states the topic or states the main idea, and the controlling idea. The controlling idea part is that part of the topic sentence which tells the reader how the topic is going to be, what is going to be the scope of the paragraph or the angle which is going to be exploited in the rest of the paragraph. Right. So this is the answer. So while most previous studies focus on English event extraction, only a small part of previous studies concern Chinese event extraction due to the special. So of course it was a difficult one, but there are some easier ones as well, which you can, yeah. So the blue bits are the topic, and the green bit is the controlling idea. All right, do you get that? And look, I have some easier ones at this Google Doc for you to practice with, okay, where you will be looking at, I don't know how much time we have, but if you go to, could one of the assistant mentors please copy and paste this onto the chat? So there are some easier examples of topic, and so another thing that we are going to be looking at is something slightly easier perhaps, is the topic and focus in topic sentences. All right, so if we can you all see it on my screen? It has decided to go to Google Docs. So what can you see on my screen? Do you see anything?
Ma'am, topic and focus sentences slide.
Is my screen still showing or not?
Yes, ma'am, it's showing, and it's topic and focus and topic sentences.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So,
all right, okay, that's fine. Yes, so topic and focus in topic sentences, that's another way of looking at it, you know. So you have the topic and the controlling idea. The controlling idea is the way, the scope of the paragraph and the way the paragraph is going to be, the topic is going to be treated in the paragraph. The focus is going to be the subject of the paragraph. Could you please close the mic? Thank you. So L1 is first language, second language writing researchers have been trying to understand the reasons that might account for plagiarism. Okay. Now, in this example, L1 and L2 writing researchers is the topic and plagiarism is the focus of the paragraph. So, so in this paragraph, you would find information relating to what L1 and L2 researchers have discovered about why students commit plagiarism. And this is what paragraph. Now, this is some practice for all of you here, and I'm going to end at this note. Companies in the 21st century are faced with, so the first two sentences, section 4, have a go at them. The next two sentences, section 3, have a go at them. The sentences in gray, please, section 2, have a go at them. And the last sentence, which is a long sentence, please, section 1, have a go at it. Okay? Try and decide what the topic is and what the focus is. What the topic of the paragraph is going to be and what the focus of the paragraph is going to be. And you can determine this by just looking at the topic sentence. So if you can see my screen, the sections are listed at the end of each sentence. First two sentences, section 4. 3 and 4, section 3. 4 and 5, section 2. Last sentence, section 1. Palak, last one is for section 1, please. Okay, good. You're getting there. You're coming up with some interesting, yeah, most of you are doing well. Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Ribab. If you need more practice for with controlling ideas actually, to be able to write good controlling ideas and in a topic sentence is a good skill to have. So I would advise you to practice on the Google Doc. Okay, so I think you've all done pretty well on this exercise. All right. So can you tell which is which? The blue is the topic and the red is the focus. So in this case, this is foreign language classroom, or language classroom is the topic, and the focus is communicative competence. Yeah, so I think all of you got that right. All right, so some final writing tips: awareness of audience. Be aware of your audience, avoid too many technical terms, Ask a senior colleague if inclusion of discipline-specific jargon helps or hinders. So, so you can ask them. Include teaching strategies and method-specific examples in your TPS. Recreate the learning environment you create and the exchanges between you and your students. Make it memorable and unique. This is again about your teaching philosophy statement. Come across as intentional about teaching practices and committed to your career. This is very, very good advice, that whatever you do it intentionally. You plan your classes, you plan your teaching, and you do it intentionally with a theory or with certain beliefs and values behind that teaching practice. And you should come across as very, very committed to your career. So with that, I'm going to I'm going to close this and wish you all the very best for today and for writing some great teaching philosophy statements. Remember all this. These slides will become available on Moodle, and you can always go back to them. And if there's something that you find interesting, you can always go back and refresh your memory. And please do use this guidance for writing. It will definitely help you in writing better teaching philosophy statements. All right. With that, with that bit of advice, have a very, very good day today, a good learning day today, and enjoy the various interactions. And I will see you, at least I'll see my section on perusal at past. All right. So over and out from me for now, and I'll see you guys later.